right as Phillips directing traffic. Got a couple players in on him, makes both of them miss. Now he turns it upfield. Oh, look at this by Phillips. Can he take it the distance? 61-yard touchdown.
Live from our Seton Hill University studios, this is Westmoreland on the Gridiron on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Here's your host, Sean Meyers.
And welcome into the first edition of Westmoreland on the Gridiron here in 2022. Sean Meyers, Dan Flickinger, Sean Benjamin. Thanks so much for joining us for the first time in what will be a long fall season of high school football that we'll be talking about here each and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Guys, before we get into a jam-packed show here, I kind of just wanted to touch base because this is always an exciting time of year. Our first high school football games now behind us. 16 of the 18 teams played week 0. I think we've got some pretty good action, and if nothing else, we got some football. That's the most important takeaway for me.
I'll tell you what, man, it's not only about the football on the field, it's just hearing the cheerleaders, hearing the band, smelling the popcorn. The atmosphere is the coolest thing, which we were robbed of a couple of years ago during COVID. So great to be able to hear that. I forget what player, could have been Jake Phillips, who we'll be talking to a little bit later, that said they were so excited to just feel the atmosphere again, even more than just playing itself. So there we go, baby. Week 0 out of the way, going to week 1.
Yeah, nothing like it. It's an exciting time. Everybody gets up for it, and it's time to rock and roll.
I mentioned it is a jam-packed show. I wasn't lying. We're going to run down all the week 0 scores across Westmoreland County. We'll also touch on the top performers. The always popular Plays of the Week segment returns here in 2022. We also have some great interviews lined up. Ron Prady, who got his first victory as the head coach of Greater Latrobe last week. We'll talk to him. And our player interview, Jake Phillips, the Hempfield area quarterback who had a terrific performance to open the season in a rivalry matchup. And then we'll look ahead. Week 1. No, it's not quite the same as week 0 because this is everyone now in the WPIAL competing. It was optional last week in week 0. Just about every team did opt to play a real game. But week 1, it is, as it would indicate, the real start of the high school season. So we'll have plenty to talk about with that. But first, let's talk about some of the biggest takeaways from week 0. For me, I think a very pleasant surprise for a team that's looking to defend its WPIAL and state titles, the Penn Trafford Warriors. I think they have themselves a pretty legitimate quarterback in Conlon Green, not a prototypical build for a high school quarterback. I thought he was going to be a guy that was maybe going to throw it a handful of times, primarily run the football, use his tremendous size. How about his debut as a starting quarterback? 335 yards passing. They needed just about all of them as they edged Cannon McMillan in what was a really competitive game, 35-28 in favor of the Warriors. But, man, to have a quarterback make a debut like that, and he's even better as a defensive player. I truly did not think they would have this type of passing game, but maybe they unlocked even another level offensively, at least early in this season.
No, and I don't think any of us did, except probably for Conlon Green, right? I mean, he obviously has confidence in himself, but we've seen him do what he does on defense, just absolutely wreak havoc on opposing offenses, and got the big sack to seal the state championship game last year. And Sean, we went to training camp and had a chance to talk with Conlon, and we knew the IQ was there. I mean, he obviously has a very high IQ. He speaks very well, and we knew he'd understand the offense. But how would he put it together? Would it take a while? Would the passing game take a while to develop, which it probably did a little bit last year under Carter Green? And that would be understandable. I mean, the kid has never had a varsity, I shouldn't say had a varsity snap, because obviously he threw the big touchdown pass in a kind of a trick play last year in the state title game. But we didn't know how he would start out the season. We thought it might take a while to develop. And my gosh, did he prove any doubters wrong with over 300 passing yards in the way that he did it. And Sean Benjamin, I know you had a chance to actually watch that game last Friday. Just your thoughts on the way that, he was able to not only do what he did, just throwing the ball in general, but distributing it to his wideouts, and only through that one interception. I think he just took everybody by surprise.
He did. Yeah, it was a special game for him. And, coming into this year, we didn't know, like you said, what he was going to be able to do. He only played sparingly. He did throw that big pass in the state title game, to win it. But, but the way he kept coming back and making throws, and some of them very difficult throws. I mean, for 23 of 30, 3 touchdowns. I mean, and he's going against Mike Evans on the other side, who's a pretty good quarterback himself. So it was a pretty good quarterback matchup the other night. And, it's definitely got the upside for the Warriors, because the rushing game really wasn't there. 43 yards for DeMary, 38 yards for Green. That's got to get better. But, just a very good night passing the ball.
And we thought the passing game would take a while to develop. Perhaps It's the running game that will take a little bit further, a little bit further along to develop, considering they do have a lot of young running backs that are trying to replace Cade Yakimelli and even Ian DeMary, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be nice when we can really get to see Colin Green get going against some of these, taking on some of these linebackers. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback play defensive line. So
like Dante Culpepper, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's going to be interesting.
Well, just a final note on this. He didn't play a lot of backup quarterback last year because he was primarily playing tight end. So he was on the field, but very rarely was it as a quarterback. The other thing is there was not even a guarantee that he was going to be the starter. When we went to camp, John Ruane said, yeah, Conlin's right up there, but Tommy Kalkstein might get some snaps too. So I don't know if he was playing coy or if this really was that much of a surprise, but what a great start for Conlin Green. Again, they needed it because they had their hands full in a victory over Cannon Mac. Greensburg Central Catholic, that's a team that is loaded with skilled players on offense as well. They can throw it. They can run it. I think they're going to have a terrific season, and they're off to a good start. The offense came through in a big, big way. GCC 56-35 defeating Mount Pleasant area, and that is playing up 2 classifications for the Centurions. Again, we know how much talent they have. They've added a freshman in Samir Crosby, who's going to be special, but they have a quarterback in Tyree Turner. They have a Division I prospect in Amari Mack, 2 terrific running backs. I think it's a pick your poison for opponents. And quite frankly, I don't know that any team's going to really be able to shut down this GCC attack.
No, after we went around and went to the camps, Sean, I think that we kind of thought that Greensburg Central Catholic really has one of the best chances in Westmoreland County to win a championship this year. They are absolutely loaded, as you mentioned. They still have some of those kids that transferred from Jeanette. You mentioned Amari Mack, who just physically just looks the part, man. I mean, he is going to have a big year. Ryan Kimball, we talked to him a lot during camp as he was trying to negotiate the broadcast this year, coming up to cover this game and that game. But he's ready to go for sure. And he had a solid game against Mount Pleasant. They just have so many weapons. You mentioned some of them. Tyree Turner returning at quarterback, Samir Crosby transferring from Jeanette into Greensburg Central Catholic. I mean, they just have so many weapons. It'll be really interesting to see how they do against Bishop Canavan this Saturday, which you can watch right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Really excited to see that game. And then, of course, they'll have some big matchups down the line. But Sean Benjamin, I think that they have just as good of a chance as anyone to compete for a WPIAL title this year.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, just they're loaded. Coach Thomas has really, been able to get the right guys in his system and really has set it up to where they're going to make a serious run this year. Last year, they had so much go on at the end of the year with the passing of the 2 coaches and also some of their players weren't able to play in the playoffs. That took a lot out of the team, so this year all systems go, and they started out, really nice this past week. This will be a good test. Bishop Canavan coming off a loss themselves to still high spur. So it's going to be a good tussle this week.
So we talk about an explosive passing performance by Conlin Green for Penn Trafford, an explosive offensive performance overall for GCC. Let's continue that theme. Hempfield area, man, they look like a different team here in 2022. 49-3 defeating Greensburg Salem. And here's the kicker. They didn't even play a full half of football, putting up 49 points. 7 drives, 7 touchdowns, very little resistance. might be a little concerning for Greensburg-Salem, but I look at it more so that Hempfield area is light years ahead of where they were a year ago. And quite frankly, they struggled against Greensburg-Salem until they were able to pull it out late. No worries about that this time. We're going to hear from their quarterback, Jake Phillips, a little bit later. He was our player of the week, rightfully so, but it's not just Phillips. It's the receivers. It's Geno Caesar. The line gave an incredible amount of time or incredible holes. I think that this team will be much, much better. And keep in mind, they're not a 6A team anymore. They're going to be playing some 5A teams that I think that they can really make some noise against.
Yeah, and I think there's really some confidence with this Hempfield football team that they have a chance to compete this year. Now, whether that means compete for a playoff spot or just be able to, challenge some other teams and have some close games with some of the top teams in the conference, we'll see how it all shakes out. But it was just a bad matchup for Greensburg-Salem. I think last year was the year the Golden Lions had a real shot at winning, and they did. I mean, I know they were leading, I think, going into the fourth quarter, and Hempfield came back at the end. But this year, with Greensburg-Salem being much younger, and Hempfield has a lot of veteran kids coming back this year, a lot of seniors. We mentioned Jake Phillips. Will be talking with him. And then to see their up-tempo offense, that was pretty exciting.
Did not expect that.
They didn't take many breaks. They were in and out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage and ready to run the next play. I mean, we couldn't even show replays of their big plays against Greensburg-Salem. Now, that's the one side of the coin. I guess the other side of the coin is, again, they're going up against a team lower in classification, against a team that is much younger than them this year. So can they continue to do this? Can they run that up-tempo offense against some better teams in the conference, of course, like Gateway, Penn Trafford, but even other teams like Franklin Regional? Can they do that against those teams? That'll be the questions that are going to remain out there until they can do it. But I'll tell you, there really is some confidence at Hempfield that they can really have a good season this year.
Yeah, Coach Brown really, he's another one, came in late last year. The coaches got started late. It took some time, for them to get the system going. So now, Phillips is definitely showing that he is, light years ahead of where they thought. That was a heck of a performance the other night. You had on Katonka and Benikoski and Caesar. I mean, it's a tough lineup.
I'm digging through my schedule here for Hempfield. We know that they host Connellsville this week, and then at Greater Latrobe, at Shaler area. I would probably favor them in all of those games. There might be a real chance they're 4-0 when they open against Penn Trafford in section play. So that has been probably a long, long time since you've been able to maybe prognosticate that for Hempfield area. They still have to go out and do it, but I think a lot of things work in their favor. Sometimes you need everything to come together, the experience, the talent, and maybe a little bit easier competition this year. So we will see, but certainly a lot of optimism when you think of Mike Brown and his second year guiding.
And they played 5 out of their last 6 at home as well. So, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. They play a lot of home games. And Sean, you mentioned that Latrobe game. Cool to see those two teams playing each other again because, we talk a lot about the Hempfield-Salem rivalry, the Derry-Latrobe rivalry, but there's a rivalry between Hempfield and Latrobe as well. And I know we'll talk about the Wildcats here coming up, but they're a pretty good team this year too. So I think that'll be a great game.
Yep.
Yeah. Love that a lot of the non-conference are geographically interesting matchups. We're going to have plenty of those in week 1 that we're going to highlight. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will put the finishing touches on week 0 with all of the scores. We'll also take a look at the top performers from the first week of the WPIAL season. And a little bit later on, plays of the week, interviews with Ron Prady and Jake Phillips to also include on this show. We will step aside. We'll be back momentarily as we continue right here on Westmoreland, the Gridiron, each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. on the Westmoreland Sports Network.
That's the power of Bowser. Yeah.
Coach, building a championship team, I know for you, it's all about the details. The same goes with the Bowsers.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's the tiny little details every single day, not forgetting about it the next day and maybe doing it the following day. I mean, I think details are everything.
As Coach says, get your eyes right on the power of Bowser.
The Bowser family is proud to have Coach Narduzzi as part of our team. Collision Shop by Jason Mignone is your one-stop shop for all things auto body repair. Our experienced technicians and state-of-the-art facilities have you covered on both passenger and heavy-duty vehicle repairs, including scratches, scrapes, and dents, free estimates, body repairs, welding, refinishing, glass replacement, and more. Our all-new alignment and calibration shop has the tooling, equipment, and staffing to ensure top-quality alignment and calibration adjustments for your vehicle. Our friendly office staff is more than happy to assist you through every step of your vehicle's repair process. Visit the Collision Shop by Jason.com for our complete list of services.
And welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron, your home for high school football talk across Westmoreland County each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. right here on WSN. Sean, Dan, Sean. We talked about the biggest takeaways. Let's take a look at the remaining scores and some of the top performers from week 0. Again, not every single team was in action, but as far as Westmoreland County goes, 16 of the 18 teams did play real games. The 2 that didn't, pretty good teams, Bell Vernon area and Franklin Regional, they decided to go against one another in a scrimmage. For the games that do count, Hempfield area, as we mentioned, 49-3 over Greensburg-Salem. If you want to go back and watch that one, you can. That's one of the games that we have archived. You can also go back and watch Upper St. Clair 42, Norwin 6. If you're a Knights fan, you might not want to watch that one again. It was a rough start for the Norwin 2022 campaign. The game that we want to focus on a little bit closer, Greater Latrobe defeats Derry area 55-0 in that rivalry matchup. You can go back and watch that one as well. And if you go back and watch that one, you might have your eye on a particular player for Greater Latrobe. Robbie Fulton, a newcomer. We heard all about him because he was a key contributor at Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Well, he has brought that 6A Vikings mentality seemingly to Greater Latrobe. He was almost unstoppable on Friday.
Yeah, I think he took the first handoff of the game and scored a touchdown, much like the Wildcats did last year to the Trojans. But my gosh, Robbie Fulton, are you kidding me? We saw him at training camp. We didn't know how much he would factor into the offense. We knew that he was a good defensive player at Pittsburgh Central Catholic last year. Just goes to show how much depth that Central Catholic has, that they didn't use him on offense, I don't think much at all. Certainly not to this degree, but they said the secret's out. Sean Benjamin, yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's something special. It's going to be nice to see him, Derry just getting started with a new coach and everything, but it'll be nice to see him in some of those big matchups like with Hempfield in a couple of weeks that we talked about.
And we mentioned that is the first head coaching victory for Ron Prady, the Wildcats' new coach. We're going to hear from him a little bit later, but once again, congratulations to him, a big accomplishment. He's got a nice little knack for winning after coming off of that state title as an assistant coach at Penn Trafford and now 1-0 as a head coach.
And they couldn't have gotten off to a better start, Sean, when you go under, when you get a new head coach like Ron Prady and what he has done at Penn Trafford as an assistant. I think that respect is already there because of that. But then you win the county passing tournament. Then you blow out your rival. I think there's a lot of confidence going on at Greater Latrobe right now.
He's definitely he's a good coach, good mind. I've known Boomer a long time, and he's one of my mentors. Very good man and great coach.
I was going to say, how long until we can start calling him Boomer? Which is
right.
Boomer.
I've known him since I was probably 10 years old. So
took about 20 minutes into our first show.
Sean's allowed. Sean Benjamin's allowed. We have to call him coach still.
Okay,
right.
Fair enough. Well, we already talked about a couple of the Westmoreland County matchups in Week 0. There's another one of note as the Borough Buccaneers score a 31-10 victory against Jeanette. You can go back and listen to that one as well. Big win for the Bucs, and they did it running the football. Weren't exactly sure what they're going to have offensively because Caden DiCaprio did so much, but they really did a nice job after he graduated. They really didn't miss a step in terms of the running game. Put up some big numbers against the Jayhawks, spoiling the debut for Thomas Pallone, the new head coach for Jeanette. as he takes over that program. But again, you just hope that Jeanette maybe gets a little bit better this year. It was a rough 2021, and with new coach, maybe some optimism. Not the start they wanted, but they were competitive in that game.
Yeah, Jeanette, much like Derry, we didn't get a chance, I guess, to talk about Derry, but I think they're both in a perfect spot right now in terms of their coaching staff, right? I think Mike Rohn and his staff, Joe Milan, those guys are going to do a great job with Derry, even though it didn't show up in the first game. There's still a lot of things they have to work through and develop the players in order to get where they want to go, but I think that's going to happen. Same thing at Jeanette with Tom Pallone. He's the right guy to be in there, a young guy, try to keep these kids at Jeanette right now. I mean, that's part of it. But I talked with Brent Wiggum and Anthony D'Annunzio after the game, and I said, how can you compare it from last year to this year? And they said it's much better. They feel that they're going to get they have a chance to at least to get 4 or 5 wins this year and try to get this thing back going in the Jeanette direction. You look at Burrell, though, very physical team, very tough team this year, and our guy Sean Laiato over there has these kids really playing physical like they usually do for them.
Yeah, and remember that Burrell team made the playoffs in 3A a year ago, so Jeanette punching up in competition a little bit. We talked about Penn Trafford's 35-28 victory on the road against Cannon McMillan. The Plum Mustangs 35, Kiski Area Cavaliers 14, and that was an old rivalry renewed in week 0. We already highlighted Greensburg Central Catholic's 56-35 win against Mount Pleasant area. Other Westmoreland County games, McGuffey down Southmoreland 44-28. Tim Bukowski unable to win his first game, although 28 points, not a bad showing for a team that replaced so many key offensive players from a year ago. Armstrong 42, Valley 7. How about this score? Ligonier Valley 48, Springdale 0. I know the Dynamos graduated almost their entire team. They also have a new coach, but it is far from a new coach at Ligonier Valley. The 200th career head coaching game for Roger Beidel, a victory. And once again, Ligonier Valley, it's a team that they come to the WPIL. They continue to win football games. They've had a winning record each of their 2 years. I would think they'll make it 3 for 3 this year.
Yeah, this is something they're used to doing. Maybe not as consistently as when they were in the Heritage Conference District 6. Obviously, they're playing better competition, but they are used to doing this type of thing. 48-0 win over Springdale. That'll get the guys going and give them some confidence going forward, Sean.
Yeah, and their schedule the rest of the year. I mean, they're going to have some tough matchups in that conference with Amani and Sarah and Steel Valley. But, I mean, they're going to get right up the road matchup against Derry, Burrell, Paula Ridge. I mean, there's some good matchups for them.
One of the big themes for week 0, new coaches or coaches in different places. That was the case in this matchup. South Allegheny 25, York 7. So Benny Hoffer, new head coach for the Cougars, unable to get his first victory. So of all the new coaches, Ron Prady, the only one that got the W in Westmoreland County in week 0. And Washington 54, Monessen 22. As we mentioned, 2 teams that did not play, Bell Vernon area and Franklin Regional. They'll begin their season this week in week 1. Let's take a look at the top performers from week 0. These are the top passers, rushers, and receivers in the entire district, and then some notable performances in Westmoreland County as well. We begin with the top passer, and he resides right here in Westmoreland. We talked about him. Conlon Green, first varsity start as a quarterback. He goes 23 of 30 for 335 yards. What a performance. Other notable performances in the county. Jake Phillips of Hempfield, 14 of 16 for 263 yards. We're going to hear from him a little bit later. LeBrin Smith, now the full-time starter at quarterback for Kiski area, goes 11 of 17 for 205 yards. Caden Kiefer, new starter at Southmoreland, 14 of 19 for 160. And Nicholas Uri of Norwin, 7 of 12 for 154. Top rusher in the WPIAL, Luke Signetti of Shaler area, goes for 278 in week 0 for the Titans. Behind him, the leading rusher in Westmoreland County, it was Robbie Fulton, Greater Latrobe's product, 209 yards on the ground. Then Jaden Kennedy of Greensburg Central Catholic, 187 yards rushing in the victory. One of the players that he went against on the other side, Robbie Labuda, rushed for 154 from Mount Pleasant area. Antonio Cook of the Burrell Buccaneers, 115, and Dejon Craggett of Greensburg Central Catholic, 114. So a couple of Centurions over the century mark on the ground. The top receiver from week 0 in the WPIAL is Brendan McCullough of Peters Township, 6 receptions, 181 yards. Not too far behind, however, was Daniel Terrabrella of Penn Trafford, 9 catches for 140. Dom Danino of Kiskearia compiled 109 yards on 3 receptions. Jackson Pons of Norwin, 4 catches for 104 yards. And Ty Keffer, a newcomer to the sport of football, the Southmoreland Scotties player, 8 receptions, 100 yards. What a debut performance for Keffer. That'll do it for the top performers. We'll take a break. When we come back, the always popular Plays of the Week segment. And a little bit later on, we're going to hear from Ron Prady of Greater Latrobe, Jake Phillips of Hempfield area, and take a look ahead at the Week 1 schedule. That's all to come as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
At D'Annunzio's, our menu is extensive with an abundance of selections. The next best thing to being at one of our 3 locations is having our frozen food and jarred sauce in your own home. For our frozen food selections, we have wedding soup, pasta vajol, lasagna, stuffed cheese rigatoni, ricotta cavatelli, and potato gnocchi. Our jarred sauces include the original, smooth, marinara, and tomato cream. These products can all be found at our restaurants or your local grocer.
Now is the time to save at Sendell Subaru in Greensburg. We've got inventory on the lot and more on the way. Forester, Outback, Ascent, Legacy, and more. Get a great deal on a new 2022 Subaru. Check out SendellSubaru.com today. Looking to turn your current vehicle into cash? Sendell pays top dollar. Get your best deal at Sendell Subaru, Route 30 Greensburg, SendellSubaru.com. We would love to meet you.
And we roll along here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Thanks for tuning in to our first episode of this 2022 high school football season. I'm Sean Meyers, joined by Dan Flickinger and Sean Benjamin. Guys, we've had a long off season. Are you ready for the return of Plays of the Week?
I am ready, Sean.
Always.
Do we have like the 1980s graphics up still?
Yeah, we're not. So we can't advance any further than that, man.
Love
we
it.
stay in
Looks
the
like
80s.
I'm watching on a VCR. I absolutely love all the bells and whistles that we have.
All about the throwback, baby.
Absolutely. All right, let's get it started. And I think the right place to start is Hempfield area, as the Spartans dominated every phase. They scored touchdowns on all 7 of their drives. Still, one play stood above the rest as quarterback Jake Phillips showed both his elusiveness and his speed on a stellar run that pushed Hempfield's lead to 42-3 midway through the second quarter, as detailed by myself and Roger Downs.
Three receivers to the left, Lippman the one to the right, as Phillips directing traffic. Got a couple players in on him, makes both of them miss. Now he turns it upfield. Oh, look at this by Phillips. Can he take it the distance? 61-yard touchdown.
What a run here, though, by Phillips.
He had 2 players blitzing who were unaccounted for, both coming sort of from the side at angles, and he just went up the gut.
Yeah, I think if we could see that replay one more time, Sean.
Look, you better listen to Roger. When he demands a replay, you better have that replay ready, okay? He could
I'm
not
sorry,
fit
Roger. I promise you I will have it ready quicker for you next time.
All right, he'll allow it. Well, why don't we stay in the same game? It was a game in which nearly everything went wrong for the Golden Lions, to be honest. But there was a spectacular run. It was by their quarterback, Cody Ruprecht, late in the first quarter. It was arguably their lone highlight of the game. He was one of the top receivers last year, but he showed the ability with the ball in his hands, going more than 90 yards with a little help from teammate Rashad Kennedy in reaching the Spartans' 1-yard line. Once again, myself and Roger provide the commentary.
The difference is Greensburg-Salem otherwise was playing really well in that game until the end. Ruprecht, oh, he's under duress. Going to have to get out of the end zone. He does. Look at this. Makes a couple of players miss. Now shows the speed. and he gets out of a tackle. Ruprecht still on his feet. He's got one player to beat. Cuts inside, dancing around. Now he loses the football. It's loose, picked up by Kennedy, and they will spot him down at about the 1-yard line. About a 90-yard run by Ruprecht, and Kennedy gets on the football just shy of the goal line.
Yeah, you know what? Nice run, as you said, Sean, from Cody Ruprecht. But you got to credit the defensive hustle from the Hempfield area Spartans as well. Not giving up and conceding.
I don't know that I've seen much better of a run than that.
No, that is, that's highlight kind of stuff right there by Cody Ruprecht. Escapes the tackle of Katonka.
Well, he had 3 Spartans around him in the end zone, and then he makes 2 others collide here. Gets out of that tackle.
Wrap him up. Tyson Gregory with the chance, number 7.
And the last player back was Tufts, and quite frankly, Tufts didn't do a great job, but he at least slowed down Ruprecht enough that the reinforcements got there, and you see a good hands by Kennedy.
That was a Madden run right there, baby, by Cody Ruprecht. He barrels over a guy, nearly crosses the goal line, unfortunately fumbles, and then Greensburg-Salem has to settle for a field goal out of all that. But that is a run that will certainly be on the highlights, and that'll live forever. It was interesting. Jake Phillips, again, you're going to hear from him in just a little bit. He said defensively, the coaches actually liked what they did on the play. They showed a lot of effort. It was just Cody Ruprecht going out and making a play.
Yeah, well, if you're playing Madden, you're pressing like 8 different buttons on a run like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever played against me, Sean, I would take you to school and you would know that I can do that.
So you have a spin
get that
move,
circle, square, yeah.
Yes. Circle,
got it all.
square,
Got it
truck,
all.
Yeah, truck stick, all that stuff.
Let's continue plays of the week with Greater Latrobe as the Wildcats' newest weapon wasted no time in showing his stuff. Robbie Fulton got the handoff on the first offensive play of the game for the Wildcats. He did the rest, scoring the first of what would be 5 touchdowns for him on the night. John Flickinger, the recently retired as a head coach, John Flickinger, and Bob Lisinski provide the captions.
And we will see, talked about Robert Fulton, his first snap in regular season games as a Wildcat. He gets the football on first down, and there he goes. And Fulton is going to head toward the end zone, and he's going to get there rather easily for a Wildcat touchdown. 63 yards on the run. First play from scrimmage for the Latrobe Wildcats, and they're on the board 6-0, and Fulton wasn't even touched.
No, he wasn't. He got to the outside there, no outside containment, and was off to the races.
Dynamic Robbie Fulton coming up big for the Wildcats, and they look for him to do that a lot this year.
Yeah, what a great way to start his career. First touch takes it to the house. Reminds me a little bit of how Penn Trafford started last year. Long touchdown run. Greater Latrobe, hoping maybe that the results will be the same. I don't know. That's maybe a little premature, but what a great start for the Wildcats. We continue plays of the week with the Borough Buccaneers as their dominance on the ground. It was keyed by a trio of backs, but it was Devin Beatty who led the way with a pair of touchdowns, the second of which was a 21-yarder to push the Borough Edge to 24-3 late in the third quarter. Brent Wiggum and Anthony D'Annunzio paint the picture.
1st and 10, and it is going to be the running back with the football here. Cuts it to the outside, and he's got a touchdown. 21 yards out on that run. 6 more points for the Borough Bucks with 2:29 to go in the third.
That's Devin Beatty getting into the end zone for the second time tonight.
Jayhawks just had some momentum. Long drive to start the second half, get 3 points on a Mitchell Steele field goal. But then a big kickoff return by Burrell sets up the touchdown run here. The score should be 23-3 here now, with the point after attempt forthcoming.
Big win for the Buccaneers in what was a very loud McKee Stadium, it appeared. Anthony D'Annunzio was yelling at the top of his lungs to get the crowd noise there.
The setup at Jeanette's not real easy. I mean, the press box is actually a nice box, but you can't set up in it because it's too small. So you have to set up beside the press box on a table with the speaker right there. And sometimes our guys have to shout.
I don't think Anthony minds that too much, though.
Nah, he's good at it, man. He used to be the PA announcer. At,
Absolutely. We didn't even use a microphone. He just yelled. Everyone can hear him in the whole stadium. Well, the good news is we have more of Anthony D'Annunzio because we'll finish up with Jeanette. It was the Jayhawks who came up short, but they showed some more offensive punch than they did almost all of last season. That included a fourth quarter touchdown from Peyton Moulter to Michael Mason. From 6 yards out, the pull the Jayhawks was in 2 scores at the time. Once again, Brent and the incomparable Anthony D'Annunzio have the call.
But it's going to be Moulter and Mason in the backfield. Trips to the far side. Noah Sanders alone near side. That's the way Moulter looks. And he's looking for Michael Mason out of the backfield. Touchdown! Moulter to Mason from 8 yards out. And the Hawks have their first 6 points of the season.
Very nicely orchestrated by the Jeanette offense. They spread the Florida Buccaneers defense across the field. Peyton Moulter patiently takes the football, finds Michael Mason, who was wide open in the north end zone here at McKee Stadium, and the Jayhawks convert.
Good to see the Jayhawks get their first touchdown of the season. I think it took them 3-4 games before they got into the end zone last year. Yeah. Don't have to worry about that this year. So again, hope that Thomas Pallone has a lot of success going forward. It wasn't their night, but again, they had at least some highlights. Well, that will do it for Plays of the Week, but don't go anywhere. We have plenty more to come, as next up, we will hear from the head coach at Greater Latrobe, Ron Prady, who scored his first victory, did so in a rivalry matchup against Derry area. We'll hear from the man affectionately known as Boomer as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Right now at Smale Kia, get 2.99% APR on the new 2023 Kia Sportage and Sportage Hybrid with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Join us in saluting Smale Kia's shining stars, supporting student athletes in our area.
We know speaking with your teen or your young adult about drugs and alcohol can be challenging, but is necessary. Remember to have a conversation, not a confrontation. Establish good communications, break through barriers, and be firm but loving. Here are some helpful tips. Choose a good place and time to chat. Talk with openness. Actively listen. Offer empathy and support. For more information, visit us online at wedacinc.org. Westmoreland Drug and Alcohol Commission. Prevention is key.
Your next golf adventure awaits at Manor Valley Golf Course in Export. Manor Valley offers 18 scenic holes over gentle sloping fairways and the purest putting surfaces around. Manor Valley Golf Course in Export is the perfect place to host your next golf outing, banquet party, or shower. Manor Valley also offers league play and great membership rates. Tee times available. Call 724-744-4242. Visit ManorValleyGC.com.
Sean Meyers here, the Westmoreland Sports Network, joined by the first-year head coach for the Greater Latrobe Wildcats. He scored his first head coaching victory this past Friday, 55-0, defeating Derry area. Ron Prady, thank you so much for doing this, Ron. First off, congratulations. I know you want to focus on your team, your great performance of all your players, but first, what did it mean to you on a personal level to score your first win in your first game as a head coach at Greater Latrobe?
You said it. I was more happy for the guys than me. It's not about me. It's about those guys and how well we play and how well we prepare. So I was happy for our team.
Did they do anything for you afterwards?
They did. I got a game ball, which
there
was
you go.
Awfully nice of them. But again, I told them we'll address that after the season. We got another game to worry about. So
absolutely. So I'm sure that there was a lot of enjoyment in that locker room. Really, it seemed like it was a great debut, not only for you as a head coach, but for your running back, Robbie Fulton. And I know you'd mentioned when I came and saw you at camp, this guy could be really, really good for us. He was primarily a defensive player at Pittsburgh Central Catholic, but you knew that he could be an impact player on offense as well. So obviously he put up big numbers. What have you seen from him all throughout his time, and in particular on Friday night?
Number one, Robbie has really good vision. When there's a cutback lane, he'll hit the cutback. When it's, at the point of attack, he'll hit that too. And he's explosive through the hole. He's powerful. He runs low. His pad level's down. He's tough to tackle. He's, really, really good with the ball in his hands, and we got to find ways to keep doing that.
Was it even surprising to you, though, how effective he was going over 200 yards, scoring all 5 of the game's touchdowns in the first half?
A bit of a surprise. And obviously the guys up front, Robbie will be the first one to tell you, those guys up front did a good job giving him a little bit of space. And like I said afterward, he doesn't need a ton of space, but there were a few times he had a lot of room to run. And we were proud of the offensive line as well as Robbie.
Well, you talk about the guys up front. It seemed like that was a little bit of a question mark. You had a few guys that you've seen play varsity level, but there were some other ones kind of breaking into starting roles. So how has that group maybe developed over the past couple of months for you?
I think our offensive line coach, Josh Hammock, does a really good job, and he's brought those guys along slowly but surely. They just keep getting better every week. And, they're a group that has gelled together, and I think we'll continue as the season goes on. That's what we're hoping, because our chances pretty much lie with those guys up front, as most teams do.
I've talked to you now 3-4 times between coming out to camp and doing a couple of preview stories. And one thing that you mentioned is you really like your sophomore quarterback, John Wetzel, but you also don't want to put him in a spot where he has to go out and have a Herculean effort to win games. So how did you evaluate his play, and ultimately what was his responsibility in a game like Friday when the running game was working so well?
Yeah, well, number one, he took care of the ball. And I think, we didn't turn the ball over Friday at all. And that's going to be the key for us. If we can, not turn it over and get a couple like we did Friday, a couple turnovers, that's certainly going to work in our favor. And that's what we're going to ask John to do, not turn it over, make the smart throws, make throws when they're there. He's certainly capable of doing all that. We just want to limit, how much he has to do for us this year. Being a sophomore quarterback's tough, and as athletic and as gifted as he is, we're going to try to make it as simple and as easy as we can for him this year. He'll grow, and those responsibilities may grow as the season goes on too. But right now it's early, and we want to simplify things for him.
Well, your running back had a terrific performance in the season opener, but Derry area had a really good running back in their own right in Ahmad Ward. Your defense kept him and the entire Trojans offense under wraps, obviously pitching a shutout. What really stood out about the defensive performance that impressed you?
Well, I think just the fact that we're running to the ball, we're getting, 11 helmets to the ball. And that's what we've stressed, since day one. And I mentioned that, we got a couple turnovers. When they did move the ball, both of their extended drives ended with turnovers, which, we were also happy to see. But the guys are learning the defense. It's still a process. They're getting better at it. They're getting better at their reads, getting better at just aligning to what we see offensively. And it's been a nice progression, and we hope it continues.
When you talk about learning the defense, that's because you sort of changed things on that side of the football. And for those unaware, you were a defensive coach before you came to Greater Latrobe. So what is sort of your vision for what this defense can be ultimately?
Yeah, I think we're pretty decent at all 3 levels up front, with Wyatt Held and Danny Calabrese and Ray DePilka and Caleb Lehman, Timmy Meyers. Those guys will all play. The linebacker level, we feel like, we have some guys with Corey Borio and Lakin and Tash and Fulton and Wetzel. And then the secondary, we have a bunch of guys that play back there, corners and safeties, Colin Stevens and Jaton Williams, Brady Prohovic, Aiden Butina. Those guys all, playing the back end, along with John Wetzel, and Vince Gasky gives us some depth back there. So, we feel like we have some guys that can play. They like to run to the ball. They like to create turnovers. So we're hoping that continues.
Talking to Ron Prady, the first-year head coach for the Greater Latrobe Wildcats, this team off to a 1-0 start. So I know that you were probably pretty busy on Friday night, but did you happen to take a glance maybe afterwards at the Penn Trafford score in which the Warriors kind of won a wild one?
I did. I saw that. Happy for those guys. I see Conlon Green had a big night, and Daniel Terbrella, two guys I read about. So really happy for those guys, and I'm sure they'll continue to keep it rolling.
And of course, you're going to be cheering for PT anytime you don't have to worry about going against them, I'm sure, throughout your time at Greater Latrobe. But let's talk a little bit about being part of that championship run. Obviously, the WPIAO title and then the thrilling state title win. How has that maybe added to your credibility and allowed you to maybe try to instill some of those championship qualities with this Wildcats team that hasn't been to that level?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much credibility it gives me. I think maybe a little coming from PT means something, and it was a special run for sure. Our kids will ask me about it sometimes, a couple guys, and I maybe occasionally will bring it up to them too, but try to let them.
You're not wearing a ring every day to practice, are you?
No. Have you seen that thing? It's pretty big, and that thing's hard to wear. But no, the kids are interested. They'll ask me sometimes, and we talk about it a little bit. They're more interested in the culture there, why they win. They want to do some of the things that the PT's done to be so successful, and we're certainly trying to implement some of those things. I've said it before. What John does at PT and his staff is tried and true, and it works. And it's built on discipline and being good people, and we were really proud of that back there at PT, and as they are, and we're trying to implement some of those things there at PT or at Latrobe. I'm sorry.
We'll touch a little bit on your next opponent, Franklin Regional. You have another Westmoreland County showdown upcoming this week, but before we get to that bigger picture, what are some of the goals that you've set, maybe both this year and in the long term here at Greater Latrobe?
Yeah, we didn't set any, as far as wins and losses, we didn't set, any goals. I just tell them, look one game at a time. Don't look ahead of the schedule. Let's focus on who we have this week. And when that game's over, we'll move on. Win or lose, we're going to prepare our tails off for the next game too. So I think for us, that's been our focus, not the number of wins, not making the playoffs. We'll let that all work itself out. We just want to play well each Friday and prepare hard throughout the week. And as far as the long-term goals, again, it's not something that I've set any goals. We need to make the playoffs in year 2, 3, 4. We just want to play hard every week, and we've seen some really big improvement in our kids as far as attitude, as far as the willingness to prepare their butts off, and we hope that those things turn into wins for us.
Couple words that you just used was prepare and focus. I would imagine that was tested not only for your team, but for a lot of teams on Friday, because there was delays unexpectedly. There was a lot of lightning. I don't know that it was as much rain as there was lightning delays, at least from what we saw. We were at Greensburg-Salem, didn't see a drop of rain, but they didn't even get to play the second half because of multiple lightning delays. And I know your squad went through that against Derry. As a coach, what do you do in those scenarios where you're probably going to be sitting around waiting for 30 minutes or so before you get back out there?
Yeah, we tried to keep them busy with some meetings, and we took the field. It was raining pretty hard in Derry. Started about 6 o'clock, 6:15, and so we took the field, and it was raining pretty hard. And a little bolt of lightning at some point there. We didn't see it because we hadn't been out of the locker room yet. But when we got on the field, they said that they were going to delay the game to 7:45 start. But we were already out there, and I didn't want to take that first group of guys back in. So we extended our pregame a little bit, and then after the first quarter, I think there were 12 seconds gone in the second quarter. We had a actual lightning delay. And that half hour, we try to have some meetings and talk about. Obviously, we have iPads we can look at, so show the kids some things on the iPads, good and bad. just to try to keep them focused was the key. That half hour, you go play a quarter, and then you got to take a break for a half hour and come back out and turn it back on. It was certainly a challenge for us, but we wanted to keep our kids focused on the task at hand.
I'm sure your background, being closely involved with softball, probably helps with that. Probably a lot of rain delays that you've experienced over the years.
Yeah,
as well.
No doubt. But the girls were different. They like to dance and sing. That's the part that drove me crazy about softball. But they had a good time, and girls are girls. They're different.
So let's talk a little bit about this upcoming matchup, Franklin Regional. Now, I would think you're going to be tested a little bit more because Franklin Regional did not play a game. They played a second scrimmage instead against a very good opponent in Bell Vernon area, but you don't have actual game footage. You have to go by scrimmage footage. And I'm sure there's already some familiarity being in the same conference with them for so many years and seeing their plays at 7-on-7. But is that a little bit more work that you have to do because they did not play an actual game, or is it really all the same?
I think it's more work. You go back and look at last year, what they did. Coach Getsy's been there. This will be a second year, so we don't go back any further than last year. But look at some of the things they did last year, along with their scrimmages. And I can tell you, they're really physical, and it's going to be a tough one. I think their skill guys are good. The receiver's really good. Quarterback's a great athlete and throws the ball well. Running back is a tough kid, so we're certainly going to have our hands full.
You were not with Greater Latrobe last year, but I'm sure you're very familiar what happened against Franklin Regional. And for the players who were there, who were on the wrong end of what was a pretty remarkable comeback, how motivated are they, and how important is this game to them, even though it's no longer a conference game?
Yeah, that hasn't even been brought up, to be honest. We're going to focus on this year, and I'm sure maybe in those guys' mind, it's in their minds. But for me, like you said, I had no part in that, and I'm not sure that it'll be brought up this week. I think, again, our focus is on this year and preparing as well as we can Monday to Thursday, and showing up Friday in Murraysville and playing hard. So I'm maybe in the players' minds it is, maybe in the fans, but for me, like you said, I wasn't a part of it, so it doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for taking the time. Once again, congratulations on getting that first victory at Greater Latrobe. Go enjoy it and have good success the rest of this season.
Thanks, Sean. We'll see you soon.
That's Ron Prady.
Thanks to Westmoreland Sports, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Ron Prady, head coach of Greater Latrobe, right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Coach, building a championship team, I know for you, it's all about the details. The same goes with the Bowsers.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's the tiny little details every single day, not forgetting about it the next day, and maybe doing it the following day. I mean, I think details are everything.
As Coach says, get your eyes right on the power of Bowser.
The Bowser family is proud to have Coach Narduzzi as part of our team.
Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron. We appreciate head coach Ron Prady taking the time to talk. I think already he's starting to get a little sick of me. I've interviewed him about 5 times, believe it or not, between us going to camp. And then, of course, fortunately, I guess I didn't have to interview him at our coach's show. That was Hannah who had the interview with him there. But I've talked to him for a season preview for the Latrobe Bulletin, a couple of game previews as well. And now, of course, recognized for his inaugural victory. So I think I'll have about 15 total interviews with him by the end of the season. But if they're winning, I don't think he'll mind too much, thankfully.
I was going to say, Sean and I are already sick of you. We've only been doing the show for 45 minutes. So
yeah, well, you're not the only people. Let me tell you that. So once again, we thank Ron Prady. We're going to have another interview upcoming momentarily. That will be with our player of the week, and that is Jake Phillips. And Flick, it wasn't us who decided that. No, it was the people.
Millions and millions of fans of Westmoreland Sports Network. We have a vote every weekend following the action on Friday night that we put on our social media pages. You have a chance to vote who you think should win player of the week. Jake Phillips, we've been talking about him already. Of course, he won with 52% of the votes. We actually had almost 2,000 votes cast this week for player of the week. But we also want to congratulate, we mentioned some of these guys already, certainly Robbie Labuda had a huge game for Mount Pleasant. Not only his yardage, but he rushed for a touchdown, caught a touchdown pass, and also returned a kickoff for a touchdown in that game against Greensburg Central Catholic. Of course, we mentioned Conlon Green already, 335 yards and 3 touchdowns. Robbie Fulton's big game. He was also a nominee this week with 205 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then, of course, Jaden Kennedy rushing for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's not just about the winner. We congratulate everybody that was nominated this week. Now, if you win, you can't win again. So Jake was our winner this week. We're going to talk with him here in a moment. But we want to congratulate Robbie Labuda, Conlon Green, Robbie Fulton, and Jaden Kennedy. I have a feeling those guys are going to be nominated again here coming up very soon after some big performances this week.
Yeah, I guess Conlon Green's going to have to throw for 400 yards next time.
Yeah, I'm thinking 335 was pretty light, so 400 would be a good sweet spot, I think.
He might have it in him. Mm-hmm. Well, as you mentioned, Jake Phillips, very deserving winner in his own right. And Flick, you had the opportunity to talk to him. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will hear from the senior quarterback for the Spartans, Jake Phillips. And a little bit later on, we will also have the week 1 preview. That's all upcoming as we continue right here each and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
D'Annunzio's Italian Restaurants is open 7 days a week at all 3 of our locations, Jeanette, Monroeville, and Latrobe. We invite you to join us for our specials. Monday, the special is spaghetti. Tuesday, it's raviolis. Wednesday, it's lasagna. And Thursday, it's chicken parmesan or chicken romano. Be sure to try our drink specials and our fabulous desserts. And remember, we also have takeout available at all 3 locations.
Now is the time to save at Sendell Subaru in Greensburg. We've got inventory on the lot and more on the way. Forester, Outback, Ascent, Legacy, and more. Get a great deal on a new 2022 Subaru. Check out SendellSubaru.com today. Looking to turn your current vehicle into cash? Sendell pays top dollar. Get your best deal at Sendell Subaru, Route 30 Greensburg, SendellSubaru.com. We would love to meet you.
Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. We'll talk about our Week 1 opponents and preview those games here coming up in just a little while. But right now, as you see, we are joined by our Week 0 Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week. He is Jake Phillips from the Hempfield area Spartans. A huge game for him. I say game, actually half for him, as the second half was wiped out because of the lightning delay. Jake in the first half was 14 for 16, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns plus a rushing touchdown. Jake, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Jake, what was it like getting onto the field? You know, you're here, you're playing your senior year. There's a lot of potential for you guys this year, but just like any football player, man, you go through training camp, you go through all the practices, and the cliche says you finally get to hit someone with a different colored uniform, and it happens to be a rival in Greensburg-Salem. Just how good did it feel to be off at field on Friday?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was a really unique feeling for me because I've never played at their home stadium before. Obviously, being a huge rivalry with us in the past, we kind of went into that game thinking like we need to make a statement here, essentially, because we believe that we're a completely different team than we were last season, as I believe we proved on the field. And the environment as a whole was just very similar, but also very different from anything I've experienced before in football. And with that being said, like I've been playing my whole life, and you get that feeling like your butterflies in your stomach, you're excited. But there's just something different about the first game of your senior year that is really, really special.
Well, and you talked to Sean Meyers before the season started when we went around to camps, and you said one of the things you're most excited about this year is being able to play more local teams. So I'm sure playing in front of a big crowd, like you mentioned, was really exciting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with Greensburg, I mean, probably half the guys in our starting lineup I'm familiar with or have played throughout my career. But there's also a whole nother level of environment in the stadium, too. I mean, so many more fans are encouraged to come out. And although Greensburg Stadium isn't huge, it was packed for sure. So the overall setting was awesome.
So from an offensive standpoint, Jake, it seemed like you guys had a specific game plan and you executed it perfectly in that first half. Is that kind of how you saw it too?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been preparing for it all summer, all last year, and everyone kind of knew what was expected, and it was just up to us to follow through. And I believe that we did. We capitalized on our opportunities.
Well, part of that game plan was something that I don't know that many Hempfield fans knew you were going to implement. Greensburg-Salem probably didn't either, and that was the up-tempo offense. Kind of tell us about that. Like, when was that implemented? Did the coaches get your input on it in the off season? Just kind of how did that come about now that you guys are kind of running this sometimes?
So Coach Ritz is big on the fast tempo offense. And I think he kind of saw the potential with our offense that we could handle it this year. And it's going to be tough for any other team to deal with, considering we're going as fast as we are. And I think that throughout the season, it's going to be deadly for us, and especially the way our players are executing. I mean, our line, you can't find too many more linemen in the whippeal that can get lined up and fire off the ball every single snap the way ours can. And same thing with our receivers. I mean, just their ability to get set and for me to snap the ball and them get moving is really what puts it all together.
Well, from your perspective at quarterback, I mean, is this kind of exciting to run this type of offense? Because again, I know that, maybe it can be a challenge too, because things are flying so quickly. But it also seems like with moving that quickly, it seems like it could be something that really keeps everybody involved in the game every single snap.
Yeah, for sure. And then another big pro for me is a lot of times when you have 30 seconds before the snap of the ball to do nothing but think and stress about what the defense is doing. When it comes down to tempo, I mean, it's just snap the ball and react. So everything they taught us over the summer and in practice during the week, it's just all ingrained in your brain and you just react. There's no like thinking and considering things. It's just play how you know how to play and everything else will fall into its place.
You have several other weapons on offense that had big games too. Geno Caesar, Eli Benikonski, Katonka. I mean, all you guys were really clicking. How would you kind of evaluate some of the other real talented guys on offense and how big of a role they'll kind of play this year?
I mean, I could sit here and talk all day about my teammates. I mean, my guys, I've been with them all summer, most of them my whole football career, and they've just been nothing but hard work, like nose down and grind. And it especially speaks on our line. I mean, we have 5 linemen that I trust more than anything. I'm never doubting them or anything. They're picking up blitzes. Like, they're really like the heart of our team. And then in the backfield, Geno most of the time, then also Eli. I mean, those two are studs. If you watch that film, there's not too many times all game where 2 or 3 guys tackled Geno or Eli, not to mention one. And then across the board too, we use like a tight end halfback pretty frequently with Eli Benikonski, Ben Blahovic, and Anthony Villano. And Anthony is our predominant guy that we'll use there. And Anthony's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's all of 6'3", 230 and catches every ball I throw his way. He had a play against Salem where I actually thought he was tackled and I looked to the sideline for the play and he's 25 yards downfield by the time I look back. And on our wideouts too, you'd mentioned Katonka. We've got Kieran Littman. We've got Ian Tufts, Tyson Gregory. I mean, there's plenty. I could go on all day. But those guys, I mean, they just make plays. That's really what it comes down to. Danny and Ian and Kieran especially, because they're in there the most. But those guys have been working out all summer, and it really shows on the field. A lot of it also comes down to our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Tyler Zimmer.
Absolutely.
has made a monumental impact on all of us. I mean, I alone have put on probably 30 pounds from last year. All of our receivers, same way. Everyone's moving great. And I mean, everyone has really turned into a better version of themselves from last year.
And it's all about, development, buying in. But obviously, Tyler, I've known him for a while, and he was an All-American at Seton Hill and was always one of those guys that was just a proven leader. And it's great that he's on your coaching staff and as a strength and conditioning coach. Jake, from a defensive standpoint, you only gave up 3 points in that first half. I mean, a really nice defensive stand after Rubrecht busted an incredible run against you. I guess maybe that's not one you want to kind of reflect back on and look at it on film, but how do you kind of evaluate, how did the coaches feel that you guys played defensively in that first half?
So obviously there's going to be mistakes to be made all over the board, but what our coaches had really been preaching to us is to be physical and play how we know how to play. And I mean, we've been going over defenses all summer, and we knew we had a good game plan going into it. And I think our guys really played on the fly, and everyone was flying to the ball. And considering Rubrick being the player he is, only breaking one long run like that is pretty solid, but obviously you'd love to not have that. But that play is actually, most people would probably think that it was all bad, but on film, our right D end, I want to say, Ethan Shaw and Eli Benakonski, I mean, the hustle between those two on that play, they tracked them 85 yards and ended up tackling them on the 5. Ethan forced a fumble, which says a lot about our team. And at the end of the day, the other team's going to make plays too. So it's really just about controlling what you can control. And as a whole, I think our defense has come a long way from last year and is going to be solid this year.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. Plus Rubrecht, I mean, he's a great athlete, so he's certainly going to make plays. So it was a really strange situation. Have you ever gone through a lightning delay before?
Not that I can remember now.
So I know they had 2 minutes left or something like that in the first half. Lightning, they decided to wind the clock and just allow you guys to go into the locker room thinking that we would play a second half. It didn't happen. So what was kind of going on in the locker room? What were you guys doing to stay at least ready for the second half if you were going to play it?
So a lot of guys kind of were confused going to the locker room because we weren't given a ton of information, just that we had about 20, 30 minutes. We're going to head back out and stretch. But it was a mixture between just excitement and I can't even explain the feeling, but it was weird to an extent of we didn't know what was going to happen because we were thinking partially it might be game gets called, partially might be we go right back out there. And then it was really after the second delay that it got weird, because then at that point, you're tired at that point. All the toll on your body kind of sets in from the game and all of your adrenaline's gone. So at that point, wondering what was going to happen. So there was just mixed emotions in the locker room, honestly.
What are some of the ways, Jake, that you believe you've improved at quarterback, even since last year now coming into your senior year?
I think that this offseason was big for me, both with a size and arm strength way with, I had mentioned earlier, Coach Zimmer. He was a huge help. I put on, like I said, I played last season at 175 and I'm playing this season at 195. I got about an inch taller too, which always helps. But a lot of it came down to just really focusing on what I wanted to accomplish. I knew going into my senior season that if I wanted to play college football, I need to make a statement and a name for myself. And so I spent a lot of time during the summer going to camps and going to quarterback workouts. There were various quarterback coaches that were huge helps to me, but a lot of it was just really devoting more of my time to football, because I'd always loved football and I always thought maybe I want to play college football, but it was this summer that I really realized now's the time to grind if I want to achieve that goal.
So you mentioned playing football, but you're also a basketball player. You're also a lacrosse player. Why is it so important to you to play 3 different sports? Because we see so many guys and girls now specializing in one or something like that, but you're a 3-sport athlete. Why is it so important for you to play multiple sports?
So to me, I've just always played at least 3 sports my whole life. And partially, I feel that it makes you a better athlete overall, just because I see things from lacrosse correlate to football, basketball, to lacrosse, and so on. And it just makes you see the game in a different light. So in lacrosse, I play behind the goal, and my position is honestly similar to that of a quarterback, where I'm reading the field and I'm calling out different offenses. And basketball, I play point guard or sometimes under the hoop, do a little bit of everything. But really, I think it, as a quarterback, helps you the most with your vision, because having to fit a basketball through a tight window to somebody else cutting, or squeeze a lacrosse ball in exactly the same thing, tight window to a cutting guy, is so incredibly similar to football, as well as the handling pressure aspect. Because as a quarterback, you're only guaranteed 10 games every year, and the rest is all practice. And you can never really simulate that amount of pressure that's going to be on you in practice for the game. And playing lacrosse, playing basketball, all those things, like, you just get used to that added pressure, which I believe has helped me tremendously.
So with that being said, football, lacrosse, basketball, is football something you'd like to play in college? Is that kind of what you're leaning towards? And where are you at right now with kind of, determining what you'd like to do or where you'd like to go?
So football is definitely what I've decided that I would like to prioritize. And I love the other 2 sports, but I just feel that my best opportunity will be to continue playing football in college. And it's tough too after last season, because we didn't finish off the way we wanted to. And I hadn't really gotten my name out to too many colleges at that point. So I was kind of behind the recruiting game, but recently turned around much more. And I'm hoping in the first 3-4 games that I can make a name for myself and get myself in front of some college coaches is my goal.
Well, yeah, you've gotten off to a great start in doing that for sure. Finally, Jake, you guys get to open the home portion of your schedule. I'm sure that's exciting for you, your senior year, against Connellsville. Can you kind of give us a scouting report on Connellsville, what you expect from them this Friday?
So Connellsville runs a wing T style offense, and they're huge up front, which to us, I feel like can be a strength almost, because our line is very conditioned. And also I feel that our backs and anybody that we're going to run the ball with, I feel that speed will be a driving factor in helping us. And I mean, I don't want to go too much in Connellsville's game plan, but
sure,
our team is going to come out just as hot as we came out against Greensburg. And I'm hoping that can lead to a similar result.
Well, Jake, this was terrific. You did a great job. There's been a great lineage of Hempfield quarterbacks, and you're certainly one of those. And congratulations on the victory. Congratulations on being voted player of the week, and good luck the rest of the season. And against Connellsville, I'm sure we'll talk again.
Thank you.
That is Jake Phillips of the Hempfield area Spartans. We'll be back to preview week 1 games, including Hempfield and Connellsville, right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Right now at Smale Kia, get low 1.9% APR on a 2022 Kia Forte, complete with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Join us in saluting Smale Kia's shining stars, supporting student athletes in our area.
When I first came back, one of the first things that blew me away was our facilities. How the fields have grown up in that whole complex down the hill. Our weight room now, I mean, how that has been remodeled and changed and overhauled.
Our baseball field is, in my opinion, one of the best in the nation, Division II wise. And just having Sullivan Gym open for us all the time with the nets in there whenever we wanted to get work in, which is possibly why I got to where I am, because all the extra work that I did put in.
I think our facilities are one of the best across the P-Stacks, and that's definitely a huge recruiting tool. As we are able to draw the athletes for the academics in addition to the great things they can get on the athletic side of it.
I don't think I would be able to thrive in a big school. I think I like that the professors know my name. I like that when I'm walking down the hall I can say hi to someone and I actually know them.
The Collision Shop by Jason Mignone is your one-stop shop for all things auto body repair. Our experienced technicians and state-of-the-art facilities have you covered on both passenger and heavy-duty vehicle repairs, including scratches, scrapes, and dents, free estimates, body repairs, welding, refinishing, glass replacement, and more. Our all-new alignment and calibration shop has the tooling, equipment, and staffing to ensure top-quality alignment and calibration adjustments for your vehicle. Our friendly office staff is more than happy to assist you through every step of your vehicle's repair process. Visit the Collision Shop by Jason for our complete list of services.
As we continue here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron, big thanks once again to our player of the week, Jake Phillips, getting it done in Flick. He is a fun cat to talk to, huh?
He is. I'll tell you what, man, a very well-spoken young man. And no matter what he does, you heard he definitely wants to play football in college. I think he's going to land in a good spot. But even more than that, I think he's going to be successful in life. I mean, he just has a great mindset, everything that he does, cares so much about his teammates, cares so much about his team, and the fact that they've played together for so long, and really hoping that he has a really good season this year.
Everything you want a quarterback to be. I mean, that's perfect.
Want to get a shameless plug in, because if you can't get enough of Jake Phillips, you could go watch our camp preview video with the Hempfield area Spartans. I talked to him on there. And while you're there, Sean Benjamin did this earlier, just binge all of them. We have 13 different camp previews up all across Westmoreland County. And they're you can watch them in 2.5, 3 minutes, but it gives you a nice feel. Get to hear from a couple of players, get some really good footage. So far, they have been incredibly well received. It's the third time we've done them, and these numbers, the best that we've ever had.
And honestly, Sean, no one else in terms of Westmoreland County, really anywhere, has done the amount of work that you put in, and the amount of interviews and talking with the coaches and making sure we understand what position all the kids are playing and everything. So yes, they turned out
jotting down their practice jersey numbers.
That was the toughest part. Now many of the teams don't even have jersey numbers on their practice jerseys, which they don't need them, but we do, although we were wondering how the coaches can even tell them apart. So it was a little difficult, a little bit challenging with that. But yeah, man, it really well received. Check them out on our YouTube channel, as Sean Benjamin did before we got underway here.
I did. Just awesome. Just going down through all the teams. I mean, that's something I like to watch back in the day as a player, so just to be able to see it, it's great.
And those are going to live on forever.
Ever.
50 years.
Forever.
Jake Phillips is going to be 89 years old looking back at something. Probably won't even be called YouTube anymore. Who knows?
Doesn't like playing Pittsburgh teams.
That's right. Remember that.
Well, we talked about week 0, but as we mentioned, in a sense, this is the real technical official start of the WPIAL season. Yeah, those wins last week counted, but this is, regulation now play with all the teams in action. So let's take a look at the week 1 previews. I think we've got some really, really good matchups in Westmoreland County, and the Westmoreland Sports Network is going to have some really, really fine broadcasts as well. Let's talk about the games that we're going to have on video on Friday night. We'll start with an all Westmoreland matchup, Greater Latrobe at Franklin Regional. And if you're wondering, well, Franklin Regional, they didn't play last week. Yeah, they did the scrimmage. So this will be their first game. So it's a chance for the Wildcats to go to 2-0. Franklin Regional wants to get off to a hot start. This is a rematch from last year. This is not a conference game like it was last year, but for anyone who remembers, one of the most epic comebacks in Westmoreland high school history, Franklin Regional down, looked like the game was over before it even got to halftime. They won by a single point. I think it was 41-40. So for the Wildcats who are back, they probably have that in their mind, even if Ron Prady says it's not a factor. That should be a fun one. We're going to have the video broadcasted at 7 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, I have a feeling those kids that played in that game last year for Latrobe have certainly a little revenge on their mind coming into this game. And I know one guy, Sean, that will tell you all about it during the pregame show, and that is the Jonathan Whaley. So make sure you tune in for the pregame. He'll recap what happened last year, and it'll be a great broadcast. But Sean Benjamin, you had a chance actually to watch Franklin Regional Bell Vernon scrimmage a little bit on Friday, and Franklin Regional really held their own against a very talented Bell Vernon team.
They did. They really started out well. Roman Sarnik, he's a difficult player to match up against, quarterback wise and defensively. I mean, he comes up, makes plays, and he was a difference maker. Made some good throws. You know, they also have Hudock, you know, and you know, Zach, you know, Zeus as they call him out there. But he is. It's a good team. They started out very well. You know, it kind of died off towards the end, but I know Coach Getzey and staff will have them ready.
Yeah, and Aiden Hudock, some think he might be one of the most explosive players in all of the 5A classification.
He only touched the ball 3 times in that scrimmage. So, I mean, they really kept him quiet. So it'll be a coming out party this week.
We talked about Hempfield area plenty so far this week. They will have a chance to go to 2-0. They host Connellsville, 7 o'clock. That will be another video broadcast, and we'll see. You can win the first game. Now you got to string them together. Spartans should have a real good opportunity. By the way, they are going against a 3-headed monster. 3 head coaches for the Falcons. I don't know that I've ever heard that before.
Yeah. No.
Remember 2 coaches. We remember Dan – GCC had 2 coaches.
Yes,
a decade ago.
Dan Mahoney and Matt Federico. I'll never forget it.
Yes,
but 3. Yeah, I don't know how do you.
It makes it tough for the newspaper guys.
Yeah, I talked to one of them over the you know, off season at one of the coach clinics, and you know, he didn't even know how it was going to go. It's very interesting to see.
Who talks to the media? I guess Jack Ridenauer will find out. He probably knows as I'm saying this, but
yeah, he asked me. He said, "Can you give me the coaching info?" And I was like, "I'll give you one of the coaches, and then
maybe
you can go
talk to all 3 of them at the same time." I don't know.
Yeah, his head will be spinning.
And they came off a big win, you know, 16-13 over Albert Gallatin. So.
Yeah.
You know, but they
had to get 3 game balls to give 1 to each coach, probably.
Right.
They have to take out a loan to get more balls for next week.
Right.
Absolutely.
But as long as Jake Phillips comes out like he did the other day, they should be able to do some good work against Connellsville.
Well, we'll see if Conlon Green can come out like he did on Friday as well. This will be a really great test for Green and the Warriors. They host McKeesport area. That is a very good Tigers team. They made it to the semifinals last year, awfully close to making it to the 4A championship. We'll have the video broadcast. That will be a 7:30 start time, a very rare 7:30. Sean Benjamin and I will be on that call. Really looking forward to that game because, yeah, it's not a conference game, but it feels like a big game.
Yeah, and it goes to show that that's just the start of the tough non-conference games that Penn Trafford has. I guess, obviously, Cannon McMillan was a start there last week. It turned out to be a tough game. But, Sean Benjamin, I know you had a chance to watch a little bit of McKeesport video. Just another physical McKeesport team that's really going to test Penn Trafford.
They are. You know, that West Mifflin had a lot of good players on their side, and they were able to go through them. You know, Bobby Boyd, dangerous player, you know, 22 carries, 130 yards. You know, he is – dangerous for McKeesport, and he plays that fullback. Sometimes they'll move him around a little bit, but you know, he takes a lot of those quick hitters up the middle, and if you're not in the right place, he'll go. You know, so it's definitely a good test, especially for the Warrior defense who let up a bunch of big plays this past week. You know, Coach Wayne will have them ready, and they'll tighten it up.
And I had a chance, guys, to watch Bobby Boyd last year against Bell Vernon. That kid runs his heart out. I mean, he is 110% every time he touches the ball. So he's not going to make it easy on anyone trying to stop him this year.
Anytime you talk to a coach that goes against McKeesport, they say preparation defensively this week is completely different. It's all about assignment football, being gap sound, because McKeesport's offense tests you like very few others in the entire WPIAL. Great opportunity for the Warriors to see if they can match up.
PT ranked in the Post-Gazette, they're ranked number 1 in the WPIAL. In the Trib, they're ranked number 2. And also McKeesport ranked number 4 in 4A. So it's going to be a very good matchup. And a little tidbit, I don't want to throw this out to jinx anything, but Coach Orlando has never lost to McKeesport at home.
Ooh.
Oh, If they lose, he's coming for you.
We'll see what happens.
We will have another video broadcast on Friday. This will be a couple of Westmoreland County teams looking to get back on the right path. Dairy area at Greensburg-Salem. We mentioned both teams on the wrong side of really lopsided performances this past week. So one team will get a victory at least. I hope that they both look much better. I know Greensburg-Salem had some players out. Not sure if they're going to be back, but for Dairy Area, again, it's a work in progress. So that's a good opportunity for one of those teams to get in the win column as well on Friday. The other game that we will have, it'll be an audio broadcast, East Allegheny at Jeanette. Usually they play that week 0. It's now week 1 instead. So that's a nice little rivalry matchup. I know that they're not necessarily all that close anymore. They don't play in the same conference, but they try to keep that matchup going, and it's a good opportunity for the Jayhawks to play that one at home. Other games on Friday in Westmoreland County, Norwin goes to play the Penn Hills Indians. It will be another stiff test for the Knights, who are reeling after a lopsided loss a week ago. Pine Richland at Kiski area, that used to be a conference matchup as recently as a year ago. The Cavaliers now down in 4A, so it'll be non-conference, but that will be a stiff test against a very, very good Rams program year in and year out. You can pencil them in as one of the better teams. How about this matchup? Bell Vernon area opens its season. They will play at home. They will go against Laurel Highlands. This might be the best matchup all season in the entire WPIAL in terms of star versus star player. Rodney Gallagher, the great receiver turned quarterback back to receiver, and Quentin Martin, the great every position on the field, basically. So that should be fun to watch those two go at it for a second straight year.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have 2 Division I guys. How about 2 Division I legit guys going at it in this game? It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Bell Vernon ranked number 1 in AAA in Whitfield and ranked number 2 in the state. So, they definitely want to hold on to that.
Yeah, Bell Vernon's so interesting because we thought last year was their year, right? It was a senior year for some of their big players, including Devin Whitlock. No way they can replace him. But going down to 3A, that seems like it made a world of difference. They might be the favorite, even with all the players that they lost, because just quite frankly, 3A looks like a lot easier path than what would have been if they remained in 4A.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look at the success that they had really at every level under Matt Humbert, every level that they've been at. So that success is going to continue. But again, as you mentioned, Sean, the opponents that they play are not, at least in conference and in classification, are not going to be at the level of a Aliquippa, of a Thomas Jefferson. Now, yes, they'll play TJ in non-conference, but yeah, I mean, they're the odds-on favorite, I think, certainly to at least make it to the championship game in 3A.
Yeah, I could see them in Elizabeth Forward playing for a title.
Yep, and they are in the same conference. By the way, for those who are unaware, Central Valley, the dominant team in 3A, they're now up in 4A. Yeah. North Catholic, a dominant 3A team, they're in 4A. So again, 3A does look like it gives a real opportunity for Bell Vernon area. Obviously, they'll have to take care of business, though, and that starts this week against the Mustangs. Another Westmoreland County matchup. Ligonier Valley at Southmoreland on Friday night. We'll see if the Rams can go to 2-0 under Roger Beidle. On the other side, Tim Bukowski looking for his first win, guiding the Scotties. Very similarly, Yacht Cougars, Mount Pleasant area Vikings. That's another 2A versus 3A. Some good Westmoreland County matchups. I don't know if they're necessarily rivals, but I think it counts a little bit more if you're the Vikings going against the Cougars and vice versa. And there's another first-year head coach in Benny Hoffer looking to get his first W. They
were in the 80s. They were a big I know a lot of Yacht guys that they don't really care for the Viking heads, as they call them. But it's going to be a good matchup. That's always a game they do look forward to over there. And, Yacht is – I watched that game with South Allegheny the other night as well, and they really played well in the second half. They were beat up by Deshaun Carter in the first half. Deshaun Carter's, Division I going to Youngstown State. He imposed his will in the first half, but Yacht really, stood up to him in the second half and really kept that game competitive in the second half.
By the way, Gavin Roebuck, one of my favorite guys now to follow in Westmoreland County, had a chance to do an interview with him when we were visiting Cougar Mountain. And he is wise beyond his years in terms of his thoughts and just really articulate as well. Love seeing him. Hope that he has a good season for the Cougars.
Good kid.
Other Westmoreland County teams in action include the Borough Buccaneers as they host the Deer Lakes Lancers. Valley will travel to play at Owens Field and Apollo Ridge. Finally, on Friday, Cornell, pretty good team, will play at Monessen. However, Friday does not wrap up our coverage and the Westmoreland teams in action because a Saturday night tilt, Greensburg Central Catholic will travel to play at Bishop Canevin. The Crusaders, who were in the same conference a year ago, the defending WPIAL champs. No, it won't count towards the playoff positioning. Yes, it will be a real litmus test for GCC to see how far they've come maybe from a year ago.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game, man. You know, the only game really of the night, if you will. Yep. Saturday night football, GCC Bishop Canevin. I'm really looking forward to it because I think that there are going to be games where Greensburg Central Catholic's just going to blow out their opposition, you know, playing in the conference that they do. But this is going to be one of those games that I think can really show, are they a championship caliber team or do they have a lot more work to be done? I think this is going to show a lot about both teams.
Yeah, and they played them tough last year. They only lost 20-14 in the same building, so it's going to be a good matchup. Like you talked earlier about another team, you know, they're going to have that, you know, revenge on their mind, and they're going to want to get that back.
And we will have video broadcasts of that one on Saturday as well. However, that's not it because, we cover all the high schools here in Westmoreland County, but I don't want to leave out a very important weekend, I guess an extended weekend if you include Thursday, for our two Westmoreland County college football teams. First, we begin Thursday. Yes, that's tomorrow if you're keeping track. Seton Hill will be playing its own backyard brawl of sorts as they will travel to Wheeling. 7:00 kickoff on that one. We'll be on the air an hour before with video broadcast. So the Griffins open up their season. High expectations. They had a great year a year ago, at least by program standards, one of the best in Seton Hill's history. They're going against Wheeling, who they defeated early last season and what was a game that came down to the wire. So maybe not the same caliber as Pitt WVU, but I think it still kind of qualifies as a backyard brawl to an extent, right?
Well, you know, this is the second year they're doing it, so maybe not quite as much history there. However, when they elected to start this partnership, because Wheeling hasn't had a program for very long, they did want to develop it into something that happens at the beginning of every year. It makes sense. Both teams are not in the same conference, but they're not very far away from each other either. The schools aren't. So I think it makes a lot of sense for these two teams to play. And if you're looking at it from Seton Hill's side of things, it's a good matchup for them. You know, I think, you know, it's a new program. So a program that's still, you know, trying to find itself, still trying to develop. So it's a good matchup for Seton Hill. And I'll tell you, man, they went 5-6 last year. They have a lot of, much like Hempfield, they have a lot of veteran players on this team. 9 of 11 back on a defense that was really good last year. Their starting quarterback is back from an injury, and he's looked really good in camp. So if there ever was a year where Seton Hill can compete, we'll see where that kind of leads them to. But this would be the year that they have a really chance to compete.
Yeah, they had a very good recruiting class as well. So this will be a nice test for them, and it's a good game for people to recognize and to see, and you know, to put Seton Hill and Wheeling on the map.
And then on Saturday, it is the St. Vincent Bearcats who open their season hosting Stevenson. That will be a 1:00 kickoff. Our good pal Aaron Smetanka, love the work that he's done. I think you look at parallels, they're almost in an identical spot as Seton Hill. Those teams really struggled, got new coaches around the same time, turnaround. Last year was a big step forward. Now, I think maybe the most difficult step is going from kind of an average team, a 500 team, to well above 500. And both those teams were around there, and now they need to try to take that next step. I think for both of them, it's got to start with game one.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I thought it was really cool that Coach Day and Coach Smetanka talked a lot at our kickoff show. They spoke before Aaron's interview, and then after I was done with Coach Day, like 45 minutes later, Coach Smetanka, Aaron stayed after and watched the entire interview, and then those two talked while we cleaned up after the show was over. So that was pretty cool. There's a lot of respect there. And as you mentioned, Sean, yeah, I mean, they really do mirror each other, and both finished, I believe, 5-6 last year. I think St. Vincent did as well. So they're looking for a winning season. Seton Hill's looking for a winning season. There's a lot of respect there. And obviously, when you have a kid like Brady Walker returning, who has actually multiple years left, if you can believe that. Sean Benjamin, I feel like we just saw him play against Penn Trafford
in the championship game.
The Whitfield championship
Heinz Field
game.
Or Acrisure, sorry, but
it was Heinz Field,
yeah, or whatever.
Yeah,
it
was Heinz.
Back then, we're allowed to call it Heinz.
But I mean, he's an exciting player, and it's crazy that he still has a couple years left. Like, you gotta love the eligibility in college, but definitely a lot of excitement with St. Vincent football program. Coach Smetanka has done a wonderful job.
Brady Walker is just really lucky that Lorenzo Cota is no longer competing against him.
That's right. If they would have given Lorenzo the same opportunity, he would have all the records.
Absolutely. He's a new member of WSN, for those who have no idea who we're talking about. One of our new videographers who got his debut. We talk about all these coaches making their debuts. We added some new pieces here to our staff, and a welcome addition for him. Did a great job doing some video work already here with WSN. Well, Flick, that'll give a transition before we put a bow on this one. If you want to add anything else for those maybe are tuning in, unfamiliar with what we do on WSN, or maybe everything that we provide, it's more than just this show and some high school football games every week, right?
Well, I got to throw it back to you for all of your written content each and every day. We have our notebook every Monday, which kind of hits on all of the sports around Westmoreland County, all of the latest news around Westmoreland that's happened within the past week. Every Tuesday on our network coming up this fall, we will have our Westmoreland alumni Q&A that Sean puts together as he sits down with a former high school Westmoreland County athlete that's doing some big things in college. Of course, we have our weekly preview that will preview all of the Westmoreland County football games every Friday. And we will also be having, once again, our Griffin Sports Update, in which we talk about Seton Hill University sports every Monday coming up this fall on westmorelandsports.com. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of the social media. We don't have a TikTok page yet, but Sean Meyers is working. We should tell Hannah to work on that. She doesn't have enough jobs yet.
Her and Bob Pompey.
Yes, her and Pomp can be stars of our TikTok page. We got to get her to do that. But yeah, do give us a follow on social media. And of course, all of our Seton Hill University coverage. We already had a soccer doubleheader, as a matter of fact, last week, if you can believe that. So it's going to be really fun this year. Really looking forward to it. And man, it just never stops. I feel like we were just doing Junior Legion baseball. A couple weeks later, we're going to every single training camp known to man in Westmoreland County and talking to the coaches. And it's great to have Sean Benjamin back. Sean has been bouncing back and forth from the coaching staff, from the coaching side of things, and back on WSN. Of course, he was with us for the couple of Penn Trafford playoff games, including you and I getting a chance to do that state championship, and Sean being on the sidelines in that one. And so it's great to have you back, man. I love the way that you call the game with your X's and O's knowledge, and you have much more football knowledge than Sean and I. So it's great to have you
combined.
And, looking forward to that PT McKeesport game Friday for sure.
Absolutely. Look forward to being back. Love working with you guys.
Well, that's going to do it for our first episode of Westmoreland on the Gridiron here in 2022. I want to thank our great guest, Ron Prady of Greater Latrobe, and our player of the week, Hempfield area's Jake Phillips. Reminder, each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m., we'll be back right here talking high school football all the way, hopefully, until mid-November, because we know our teams are going to make deep postseason runs. But for now, that'll do it for my colleagues, Dan Flickinger, Sean Benjamin. Sean Meyers signing off. We'll catch you again each and every week. It'll be right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Bye-bye.